Welcome to the Bloom Where You're Planted podcast from Never Too Late Cafe. I'm your host, Laura Womack. Each week, we sit down for a chat with someone just like you, someone who had an idea, a passion, a dream, or sometimes just a thought, and planted that seed, watched it grow into something they wanted to share with the world. If you have an idea for a topic or someone that would be a guest for the Bloom Where You're Planted podcast, feel free to reach out to us on Facebook, where you can join our Never Too Late Cafe Facebook group. We'd love to hear from you. And today we have a very special guest, Amanda Lewis. So I want to say hi to Amanda.
Hi.
So tell me, where are you currently living?
So I currently live in Ashland, Kentucky right now, but I am originally from Schultz Creek, Kentucky, on a small rural farm out in Greenup County, just maybe 6 minutes away from South Shore.
Oh, okay. All right. So tell us what art form or your title or what creativity outlet you have.
Yeah, so I am the founder and the chief executive officer for an arts and culture nonprofit in Portsmouth, Ohio called Trillium Project. What we do primarily is we create paid opportunities for local artists to engage the community in public art projects.
Oh, so is that art shows or walls or murals, or what sort of public art is that?
It includes a lot of different forms of public art. So over the last couple of years, we have focused primarily on murals within Portsmouth, regular exterior murals that you would see on buildings and walls. And then recently we've gotten into some more asphalt related projects. So things like crosswalks and sidewalk murals outside of local businesses, things to kind of engage the community in ways where they can interact with the artwork. We also have done a lot of other events and activities outside of public art. So we partner with Shawnee State University every year to put together and organize a regional artist exhibition that usually runs from September through November each year. And we have juried shows on alternate years. And then we also do a lot of partnerships with local businesses and other community organizations for things like small business expos or activities where artists would maybe draw in other attendees or participants that you wouldn't normally find at some of these community events.
Very interesting. So can you tell us how you got involved with this, or like what prompted you to, first it's an organization, you're an LLC or a nonprofit?
Yeah, we're a nonprofit.
Okay. So what prompted you to develop this?
I guess going way back to when I was an undergraduate, I have a degree in fine art and visual arts with watercolor and ceramic sculpture. But after graduation, I wanted to stay in the community here and put some of that skills and those knowledge to use. But then I noticed that at the time where I was getting involved more heavily with, community organizing and volunteer work and doing things like that, I had a lot of artist friends who weren't getting a lot of paid opportunities to do what they love and what they're good at here. They were, expressing a lot of frustration about having to leave this area to go to larger metro cities like Cincinnati or Columbus to try to find work, paid work, doing what they love to do and what they're good at. So in my mind, it was like, okay, I love the community. I want to build up the community. I have this background in art and I have these friends that are artists who I don't want to see leave. How can I fuse all of these different elements together to create something meaningful that's going to benefit the community and benefit the people that I love and that I work with? And it was like, a light bulb went off and it's like, hey, let's start an arts and culture nonprofit. Let's employ our friends who are artists and let's find other artists in the area who want to do meaningful public artwork. And that's how it was started.
Wow. And you talk about the community aspect of it. It, from my assessment, it's very community building as well, that helping someone work here, stay here, that sort of thing. And the college is really, that's a thing they're really working on, because it's not, and like other colleges, but where you go to school somewhere and then you go back home. But I'm sure that there's a part of what you do that really helps, especially in that aspect of that major. So if you found that when you've had the connections that people have liked it, the connections with the college and such.
Yeah, absolutely. With the way that our organization is structured, we focus very heavily on community projects. So everything, every initiative or every project that we, propose or that we launch or that we try to figure out, we always want to make sure that it has a community element to it. And if it's not something that's going to benefit the community as a whole, or it's not something that the community wants, we scrap it. But a lot of what we do too is about engaging different individuals from different populations, different age groups, different cultural backgrounds and experiences. And with that, we have several artists on our team right now that are students at Shawnee State University. And what we found out in working with them over the years is that in their mind, they wanted to stay here in this area and they wanted to be successful with art. And they were worried that wasn't going to be a possibility until our organization came about, until we built ourselves up and started launching a lot of these projects that now they're getting more public art commissions. They're being engaged by other businesses and other community-focused organizations on work to promote the arts. So they're getting all of these connections that they maybe would not have had otherwise. And it's building up their career here where they get to stay instead of leaving town for somewhere else.
That's amazing. It's a valuable asset to any community. So let's go back even farther. You started talking about when you were in college. Did your interest in art go farther back before college?
Yeah, I want to say that I've always had an interest in art in some form my entire life. Whether it was visual arts like painting or drawing, I can remember, sketching and drawing things and coloring things when I was probably 4 or 5 years old. But if not for visual arts, then I was always interested in art history and the storytelling aspect that comes along with art history, whether that's, being able to look at and kind of analyze the visual work itself, whether it's a painting or a sculpture, figuring out what it means, what it's supposed to be representing, what historical aspect or social aspect kind of narrates that piece. And then I was always really excited by Greek mythology and storytelling. I loved creative writing when I was younger. I still do. I write a lot of poetry on the side. So I've always had my hands and my heart in some form of artistic element since I was tiny.
Wow. Visual arts and writing. So that aspect of, I can say as a disclaimer, I do know you or have met you. And but I didn't know you were also a poet. So that's different. And so with the community, um, what would you tell people that want to do what you've done? Maybe it's a nonprofit, or maybe it's the art part or the poetry part. What words of wisdom would you give to someone that wants to do what you've done?
Especially specifically for nonprofit work, which I think is the most meaningful work that I've ever been involved in my entire life. For somebody that's wanting to get involved in nonprofit work, I would say be ready to work, really, really work hard. There are a lot of moments where your heart breaks because you see all of these different needs or things that the community wants that go unanswered. So for nonprofit work, the whole point is to be able to address those human social concerns. but it's tough work. It's tough on the heart. It's tough on the mind. So you've got to be very, very resilient and be ready to give absolutely every bit of yourself to the work. And as hard and as difficult as it is and as challenging as it can be on the heart and the soul, it is also incredibly rewarding when you have those moments where it may be something just as easily as, you know, someone in the community coming up to you and saying, thank you so much for this. Like, I had such a great time. I wasn't aware of this in the past, and I'm really excited about it going forward. And it's those small moments like that, those that make what you do worthwhile. It is tough, but it's very rewarding. And just be ready to work really, really hard at it. You can't give up. Every minor setback or every what you may perceive as a failure is another opportunity to learn and to come back even stronger than previously.
So between the difference of being an artist organization and an individual, that level of, you know, you're having to first, you have a board, you have decisions, you have projects, and trying to do funding. It's very different than being the artist that puts out, I don't know, a flyer. Can you talk a little bit about how much different? I mean, I've run a nonprofit many years ago, so I know, but everyone else may not know. They might think, oh, let's just do a nonprofit. And there's a big difference between an artist and an artist nonprofit. So,
Yeah. So with an artist, typically what you do as an artist is you get to explore the creative side, right? You get to explore all the fun side of life as you experience it. For the nonprofit side, working as an arts administrator, which is what I would call myself, I am more focused on the business side of it. So I get less of the fun stuff, and I have to focus more on the business aspects of whether that's like you had mentioned, you know, putting together a board. So it's being able to hand select people from the community that are as passionate as you and that are going to work as hard as you to help lead this organization in the way that you want it to go, so that everything you do is meaningful. So whether you're doing that or whether you're, you know, focusing on grant writing and trying to find the funds to support the projects that you do, it's also a lot of putting together, you know, information and data, analyzing that data to make the projects more meaningful so that you can use that for funding to get funding later on in the future. So there's a lot of nuances from a business perspective that go into nonprofit work that a lot of people I don't think are aware of until you get into it. And the other side of nonprofit work versus, you know, a regular business is that from one moment to the next, you may not have any kind of financial security. So like with Trillium Project in particular, 90% of the funding that we get or more goes right back into our project. So we don't really keep any funding set aside for things like staff or any of that stuff because we're 100% volunteer based. And every bit of the funding that we get goes right back into the community. So it makes it a little bit difficult planning for the future, especially, you know, long term, just because you don't know where you're going to be at or what kind of revenue streams you're going to have to support the vision that you have.
that's true. That's true. And people don't realize that. They always, I guess there's a thought in people's minds that administrators or directors or that they always make a lot of money and and you don't really want to say I don't. But,
Right.
so how do you balance that with all the administrative tasks, which are numerous, with still having the passion of art? I mean, because I know that you can be very bogged down with numbers, data, deadlines. Oh my. But
Yes.
how do you bring yourself back to saying, oh, but I still do really love this? What sort of thing do you do?
Well, for me in particular, even though I have the background in creating and in visual design and art, my my passion isn't necessarily in creating works of art. What I am passionate about is creating opportunities for other people. So whether that's artists or whether it's people in the community or whether it's a business owner, that's what I'm passionate about. So rather than, painting or sculpture or textile work, my medium is social connection.
Oh.
So I like to focus on those opportunities that I can create that generate more impact in the community than what, say, a single artwork that I could produce would. I could make something and I could put it in a gallery, or I could put it on an exhibition, and the people that attend would, look at it and think about it, and hopefully it would provoke some sort of emotional or physical response or idea. But to create a social connection within the community with another individual or group of individuals, like for an organization, for instance, that's going to have lasting impact. That's going to affect their future. That's going to affect their present. And that is where I get more enjoyment out of. And that's why I feel like I'm better suited towards than creating actual art.
That's amazing. And that's not for everybody. And it's
It is not.
a skill set that not everyone possesses,
Right.
So, were there any other influences in you to do what you're doing? Like something you just knew that something was missing, or there was someone somewhere, I don't know, another town, another state, whatever, that did what you're doing, and you were like, oh, I want to do what they're doing and bring it here. So what was an influence in that?
There's been several different influences over the years. As far as like the nonprofit work and the focus on community building, that was heavily influenced by my best friend, Leanne Kinker Johnson, who passed away last year. She got me very involved in volunteer work in the community. I like to joke that she voluntold me to do a lot of things over the years. So that's where my love for community came from, was from her. And also my ability to see more and be more successful from a business standpoint, because she was a very strong, very independent businesswoman. And I learned a great deal from her. And then as far as like the organization itself and the focus on art, I'd like to do a lot of traveling when I'm not on a project or putting, a grant together. I like to be able to travel, and a lot of times traveling, you see all of these different initiatives that different communities are doing and how it positively impacts that area. So then being able to see that and think in my mind, okay, how can I adapt those practices in a way that's going to benefit my community? So it's being able to pull those influences from the different places that I've visited over the years. And then it's also surrounding myself with like-minded people who are equally passionate about the things that I do and about the impact that they have in the community. My dear friends, Kathy Patterson and Amanda Page, are both powerhouse nonprofit women in the community, and I've been very influenced and very empowered and encouraged by both of them over the years to do what I do.
Was there a particular, in your travels, a community that stuck out as one that you were like, oh, I really like this, or this, that it prompted an idea of, oh, let's do this? I don't know whether it's sidewalks or murals or whatever, but was there any particular one or ones that really stood out for you?
Yeah, so New Orleans, Louisiana is probably one of my favorite cities I have ever been to in my entire life. It is colorful and vibrant, and there's so much enjoyment just existing in that city. So being able to visit New Orleans on several different occasions and seeing the festivals and the celebrations and just the excitement that's felt from everybody in that community, and being able to bring that excitement back here, that's heavily influenced a lot of the initiatives and projects that we want to do. One in particular right now that we're working on is, it is called River Giants. It's puppets from Appalachian folk life. And what our team is putting together is a series of several giant, larger than life size carnival style puppets based on Appalachian folklore and Appalachian folk life that we can use during community events like festivals, parades, things like that. And that was all inspired by, the Mardi Gras celebrations that I saw in New Orleans when I went on several occasions. Seeing all of the different fun and the engagement from different ages, whether it's, I think the youngest person I saw in Mardi Gras was probably 2 or 3 years old, still in a stroller with their parents, all decked out in gear and just living life. And it was an incredible experience. So I want to be able to translate some of that energy and that vibrancy here within Portsmouth, Ohio.
That's amazing. I haven't been there, but I have a friend that kind of lives here and there, and it is vibrant, and so many people are participating. That would be awesome here. So,
Yes,
so
highly recommend New Orleans.
So, this podcast is called Bloom Where You're Planted, and I always ask everyone what that quote means to them. So, what does it mean to Amanda Lewis?
To me, it means being able to grow and thrive where you're at, whether that's in a particular town where you live, or whether that's in your present state of existence. It's being able to contribute to the community that you're currently in without thinking that you need to leave. Although travel is great because you can, pick up on different influences to bring back, you don't have to leave to be successful, right? There's this misconception that in order to be anyone of substance, you have to move away from the small town that you grew up in. You have to have these big city experiences and this glamorous lifestyle. And what I've learned over the years is that's just not the case. I've done more important work, and I felt more myself and come upon what I feel is more of my purpose than I have anywhere else that I've ever been. So yeah, blooming where you're planted is just being able to contribute in meaningful ways to where you're at, to the people that are around you, and developing into the person that you want to be right where you are.
Those are wonderful words. So, what's next for you?
Oh, goodness. I have no idea. From one day to the next, it changes. I like to joke and tell people that I want to stay flexible in who I want to be or what I want for myself, just because life changes so quickly, right? So we're always having to pivot at any given moment just to stay on our toes. But for the foreseeable future, I still want to be involved in the community. I don't plan on leaving my community anytime soon. I want to see it grow and develop into the incredible place that I know it can be. So that's about where I'm at, where I'm going to be over the next 5 to 10 years.
Wow. Amanda, I want to thank you so much for being a guest. You have so many things for people to think about in the art world and art community. So, and please let us know at some point, catch up and see what's next and what you're doing and that sort of thing. So I just want to say again, thank you, Amanda. And I'm saying bye for now. Bye, Amanda.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
So as our time comes to a close, remember to keep creating, keep sharing, and keep supporting each other. And remember to bloom where you're planted. Bye for now.